morning to everybody. This is Stefano, Master Geopolitics from Italy. Today we have Natalia from Peter from St. Petersburg in Russia. It is our pleased guest. You can find all the link of Natasha, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everything in the comments and in the description of the video. So please subscribe to her channel because are very, very interesting. I discovered her on TikTok, but also other channels are very good. The channels of Natalia were very interesting also before February 24th. She was like explaining Russia for the foreigners, for the people who never been in Russia. As you know, I went in Russia many times, so I was interested in an English presentation of how to show Russia for the foreigners. So subscribe to our channels and look also the old videos. I invited Natalia and I was, let's say, pleased that she accepted because she have a Russian point of view, very clear of everything, the situation, and a little bit not in the average. And the other things that is very interesting, it's that she went for an aid mission in Mariupol. So just, let's say, 2 weeks ago, just to, let's say, bring to them help and electrical heaters. And so it's very, and she will describe to you what happened. So I will give her the stand. If you have any type of question, just put it in the comments in the chat, and I will collect them during the speech of Natalia. So, Natalia, the stand is for you. If you can, like, introduce yourself a little bit, where you are, your experience about the channel, and then maybe we can say something about Mariupol. I will put you on the big screen.
Oh my God. Good evening from my side, because yeah, it's evening, it's 7 p.m. Thank you for having me today. I was glad actually that you invited me. I know you have a very good idea to let people from different points of view, also from different countries, to speak, and I find it also very valuable during these times, and especially there will be times after war when we will need it the most, so what to tell you? There's so many things. Let's start who I am. In short, yeah, I'm just a blogger, usual blogger. I don't work for any government or any businessman or whatever. People create stories around me. I started my blog on Instagram first in 2018 when I came home. I was living in Dubai and Abu Dhabi and UAE. So yeah, I've seen life a little bit outside of my country. I figure that people have no knowledge about Russia, like, at all, because Dubai and Abu Dhabi, it's not these are not only places where only Arabs live, but people from all over the world. So I dealt with many people, and I figure that the only thing that they know is just bears and vodka. That's all we have in Russia, nothing else. so I've got inspired that I should do something. I will go home and I will start this blog. Yeah, and I started just recording around, showing things around. It wasn't political, by the way, in the beginning. Anyway, we came to this eventually, but I was just showing usual daily stuff, how we live, what we do during life, during our daily life, etc. And it was interesting for people. Which is crazy. I mean, it was just simple things, but so much eye-opening for many people. And especially, yeah, I live in the second largest city in Russia, so it's a little bit shocking because people only imagine Russia as something like ugly and awful or whatever. But St. Petersburg is like one of the most beautiful cities in the world. It's true. I think many Italians, by the way, agree with me. Many people from Italy.
It's because the main architects that made St. Petersburg were Italians.
Yes, yes. So when they come here, they always tell me, "Oh my God, that's Italy. We used to know, this old buildings." And they love St. Petersburg. But anyway, so eventually, yeah, it's got political anyway because people like my blog started to grow, but the most of audience I've got on TikTok. TikTok I started not like so long time ago, maybe more last year. Yeah, last year. And it just blew up. Many people say that I grew up on war, but no, that's not true. I grew up before war, explaining how heating system works in Russia. That was the the funniest part. Like I woke up famous day overnight explaining how central heating works here. Yeah, and then war started. So but but before that, why people like to follow me? Because I wasn't lying. Like I was always showing bad and good things about country. I was always explaining what we suck at, what we were bad at. And I wasn't pro-government. I was never pro-government creator. I was always mostly criticizing it. So yeah, that's why I think many people like to follow me. And then the war started and it's changed everything. Like I started to think what to do next. Like what can I show? What should I do right now? Because like basically all these years that I've spent on making Russia closer to people, it became like zero, like nothing. Like I wasn't doing anything valuable anymore because nobody would listen to me. The sentiment that Russian is enemy, that we shouldn't listen to Russians, of course, hate towards Russians start to spread. And I didn't leave the country. Most of Russian creators, they left. They are outside of Russia right now, and I'm like one of a few that only remain here during these times. And I still do not support the government. I still speak against war. I still say that it was a mistake. And it creates a lot of like problems around, because this distrust to Russians. Whatever Russians say, it's people believe that we are lying or something like that. But people who follow me since a very long time, they know, like, my opinion have never changed, my views have never changed. So as I was liberal, I'll continue being liberal. I mean, liberal values, I stand for liberal values, and I will continue doing this. But at the same time, I'm Russian. I still live in this country, so I see also people suffering. I see the reality of the situation, that no, not everyone, how people imagine it, that all people here are orcs, or how they call them, villains, or barbarians, right? These are the words people use nowadays in the internet describing Russians. And it's not true too. Like there is usual population, there are just usual people around that live here. And many actually of them do not support war, and nobody knows about it, or nobody hears their voices. That's why I'm still here. That's why I didn't stop my blog. That's why I started to continue doing something. Because many people, they come to me, Russian people, they come to me and tell me, like, thank you, Natasha. Like, at least, at least you, at least there's some hope. Like, you at least can speak for all of us, because we don't speak English. Russia is so much separated from the rest of the world. You even told me, remember before, that Russia is some kind of like, I don't know, it's separated from the rest of the world, separated by themselves, because they don't speak languages, right? It's pretty hard to reach Russians. Like, there's the world where everyone speaks English, they communicate, and there is Russia, where, like, that's why it's so much mysterious. I think the major problem is language barrier, basically. If actually people spoke English pretty well here, there wouldn't be so much misunderstanding between people and countries. I believe
Natalia,
so.
if I can say to you, like we have one viewers that it's live, the friend that I said to you from Nalchik. So and I was very impressed because we is usually in our open mic with the viewers, and his English is very good because I was very interested in this. I think that what you said it's very, let's say, it's the truth. And if I can add something to you, is that probably there is a huge division that the viewer don't understand about Russia. That you have like the big cities and like the rest, and in the big cities, Moscow and Peter, and the rest of Russia. And in like probably the habits, like let's say also Ufa, or if you are in Sochi or Krasnodar or whatever, like the habits of the people, it's a little bit less, let's say, metropolitan. Like my impression of Moscow was similar to New York or Shanghai or Istanbul or whatever you want. If you are like in another cities of Russia, it's a little bit more real Russia. I don't know how to explain to the people outside. And also the villages. It's very interesting because I went also to the villages like Derevnia, and it was
It's in
very
every
interesting.
country like this. Like if you go to countryside, it's one story, and if you're in the city, like if you're in London, it's like very modern, and people are very like open-minded and everything. And then you go deep to villages, and you find a lot of homophobic people, and completely different mentality of people, and xenophobic too, by the way. So it's not only in Russia. I think it's everywhere like this, all over the world. Whenever I travel, like there's city and there are villages, and at least, okay, I can't speak for every country, but at least from what I saw and from what I heard from people from abroad regarding these things. And in Russia, I can't agree that it's only St. Petersburg and Moscow. Yeah, they're like the largest cities with a certain atmosphere. We're even different. Like St. Petersburg is pretty different from Moscow in people here, how they behave, even how they walk. A lot of things are different. So we even different from each other. But like big cities, it depends where you travel. Like I can't say that Kazan in Tatarstan isn't developed city. It's very developed city. Like people try to restore their identity right now. I mean, they're Muslims, right? Mostly they try to like go back to the roots and blah blah. But still, it's a very modern city.
But
Like
it's also very rich for the oil. I mean, if we go, I don't know to.
Tatarstan is not the richest of the oil. They also like they are not poor, but they are not rich actually because of oil.
No,
I would say.
not. I was saying not the oblast, but like the zone, like Tatarstan, Bashkiria, like it's the Ural. I mean,
Siberia part
if I
mostly.
compare with I don't know, Kabardino-Balkaria, for sure, like it's much richer as well, like oblast fund by the oil, I think.
Kabardino-Balkaria doesn't have oil. It's Caucasus.
No, no,
They are
no.
mostly agricultural
This
places.
is why I was comparing. I was making the extreme, like.
Yeah,
So,
but
but
yeah, it's in Russia. It's complicated, let's say, because some regions like they have oil, but they are not like super rich
okay.
as Moscow, right? Like if we go to Tyumen is Siberia. It's very like they have high salaries, but at the same time they have very high cost of living there, right? Because like they don't grow much. Business is not that much developed, and blah blah blah. Yeah, there are problems. A lot of these kind of things, I agree. But yeah, the problem also that people usually associate Russia with only Moscow and St. Petersburg. This is where they travel. That's the point. So they see like Moscow and St. Petersburg and oh yeah, that's so great. And that's why I always also debate like, guys, just go a few kilometers away, from Ring Road, and you will see completely different Russia, It's true. I mean, you don't have to go far even to see this difference. And but as I said, like people are almost similar everywhere you go. Like they aren't rich, let's say. People are mostly poor wherever you go. So they have a certain mentality whenever you speak to them. Like I was just speaking yesterday with one of my friends, and she told me when we were discussing upcoming crisis, and I told her that there will be a huge crisis very soon, and I have hopes that people will finally start to do something, right? A demand from government to change. But she told me, no, it's not gonna happen. Like, things are changing for you because you're in a big city, but things aren't changing for average people because they already live poor, and for them nothing has been changed since 90s, and it will not change. Like, yeah, you will not eat maybe in McDonald's. I'm just, but anyway, like, you will not maybe take taxi or something like that. But for them, there won't be any huge changes. And she's right in that, actually. They were already poor and they will continue being poor.
Now, this is very interesting because also for the recruitment of the first phase of the war, there is like unofficial statistics that the most part of the troops were from the eastern Russia, from Far East, Buryatia, blah blah blah, and it's very interesting that is recursos of also the what Stalin did, like because it was very let's say important for the Soviet government to don't touch Moscow and Peter, because let's say if you let the two biggest cities to feel the war, it can change also the mood of the people. But if you are taking people, let's say from very far away from let's say the Russian core, let's say Moscow, Peter, or whatever, it's more difficult to have riots in the capital or in Peter. So for me, what was but let's see now, because I think that probably after in the last phase of the winter and in the spring, it seems that also the war it's changing a little bit from the last analysis.
There are different point of views, and what I hear from different kind of people. One thing I can tell you for sure, that the war isn't over. That's not gonna end. And even if you're gonna read the interview of Zaluzhny, the head of Ukrainian army, yes, he just said recently that it's not gonna be over, and they will have difficulties, actually. Yeah, with all the problems that Russia faces, but it still have a lot of people, right? It's still actually mobilized people. There are a lot of issues, and I see some preparations. We can't share information from here, right? So I will not share what exactly happening. But one thing I can say for sure, that it won't be over.
Now, Zaluzhny said, like, it's in the last days, the problem was that they were expecting probably something happening from Belarus, blah blah blah. But and but the main problem for me is that it's something unsustainable, not only for Russia and Ukraine, but this instability. It's first, it's destroying the life of the civilian and whatever. As the people knows, like I had. I hosted like I made like one car passes to Ukrainian journalists from Venice to Naples, and they were let's say here for like 15 days, and they returned back to Kiev, and it was very sad for me to listen to Irina Gulev, that is like my friend, to listen like the real stories, like of the real people. Like today I had to go to the shelter. There is no electricity. It seems it's dark and cold. It's something, and I feel myself to London in 1941. So, and we are in 2022. It's something for me that it's unhearable. Like for I'm not talking about geopolitics and whatever. It's like the real story of normal people, and this thing, I think it's very sad. Plus all the economical consequences of what is happening connected to Russia, because whatever will happen, the main problem of Russia, of the world economy, is that Russia is still the biggest exporter of oil commodities and whatever. So it's something that it's a lose-lose situation for everybody.
I said in the beginning of war, when it started, I said that there's no way Russia is gonna win this war, and I still I still think this way, because I'm not sure that there can be win generally in war, because everyone is suffering. Ukrainian territory right now, Ukrainian people suffering the most. That's the issue. Like, you maybe met person once, but we hear these stories every day. Like, our relatives live there, our friends live there, and that's the worst part. Like, there's war between us. It's like, it's absolutely crazy. I don't know, you can't digest it, because sometimes, because like, you live here, right? Your countries, that your people are going to attack and killing your neighbors, and your neighbors are like your relatives, your friends, and we call each other, we talk. Like, I can't go to to square and let them like, stop, guys. I can't do anything with that. The only thing that I can do is to just remain human, help them as much as I can, right? Like, that's the only thing that I personally can do. That's what I chose to do, because I can sit here and cry and say that we can't change anything. I took part in protests. I've done my part that I could before this war even.
Natalia, what I wanted to ask, when I'm collecting the question in the live now, there is a friend that studied with me in Oslo, and he made a speech in my channel months ago. I will send to you because it's very interesting. And his name it's Asadullah Faranzai, and he's from Afghanistan. And it's very interesting for me because his own hometown is a village next to Tora Bora, where there was the biggest bombing against bin Laden in 2001. And I asked to him, we will make one speech about what was his memories, because he was 18 at that time, or 17.
Oh my God.
And for this, I think that the public is not understanding the difference of this war, because when America made war, I don't know, Iraq, Vietnam, Afghanistan, it was very far away from USA.
Exactly.
And there was no one connection between the people. The people that is not used to the Russian society, let's say to the former Soviet country society, don't understand that the families are mixed. You have a lot of mixed Georgian, Ukrainian, Latvian, Uzbek, blah blah blah. And it's like to make a war between cousins. It's very sad to let's say to digest the situation. And I think that what you said, it's very true, that it's very difficult to understand the end of the war. But I think that technically it's probably economically unsustainable. Like, let's say, for sure, militarily it can last, but economically, I don't think, because the main problem is that Russia is technically already in recession. It's about -4, -6%. But as you said, the main problem is that probably the normal people that is in the countryside will not feel it, because the level of life it's already low. And
so they can continue as much as they want. Like, that's the point. I mean, I don't know what should happen right now that is gonna start like a huge riot or revolution or whatever people say on Twitter right now. Foreigners, I don't know what should happen right now, actually, that people, because many people already believe that, yeah, there's war between, Russia and the rest of the world. Many people think that, yeah, if we're gonna stop right now, then Russia will collapse completely. Nobody needs that. And a lot of things start to, like, what was the point of all of this? There's so many questions in the air from different, by the way, people from different parts of the society, but I don't see like real changes. Like, I feel like, because even people in power, not in power, but let's say enforcement sector, right? Like Rosgvardia, like police, they started to ask this question. Like, you will never see it in the internet because they are not in the internet. They don't use internet actually. But if you talk to them personally, you can hear it. Like, they have the same questions as we. Like, why did they start this war? Why did they send our young boys there, right? They don't understand. Why do we have to collect stuff right now to dress our army? Like,
But there is in Russian Media Monitor today there was an interesting thing. I was shocked that was in Solovyov program that one famous, I don't know, singer rapper, I don't know the name because I know a lot of Russian singers, but not him. And he was asking the same thing. I cannot understand why we are in war. The real reason of this,
you see,
and so I mean, after months, I think probably the expectation of a fast conflict it's completely finished, and the people is making questions because probably the propaganda, let's say, did make, let's say, wrong answer to the question of the people. So, but
it's not only propaganda, like propaganda can speak from TV, whatever. They can create any world for people. But when they see in reality, like, for example, there's Rosgvardia. You see, Rosgvardia is National Guard, right, in Russia. So they see that their pals were taking and they're not coming back. They're just dead for no reason. Like, they don't understand why. So TV can tell them a lot of things, whatever, but it's not gonna work because they see the reality. Like, they don't have equipment. Their friends are dying. They have problems with payments and all this kind of stuff. All of this is collecting, and one day it's gonna explode, definitely. But when this day,
a boiling pot.
yeah, but when if even people in this enforcement sector started to speak about it, they talk about this, I can tell you. Because, like, I said before, like, each third or fifth, by different estimations, person in Russia works in different kind of enforcement sector in Russia. So no matter where you go,
I know.
Yeah, wherever you go, you will meet them. Like, they might be, I don't know, your, like, relative. They might be your, like, the father of kids that study with you. They might be just someone's boyfriend, etc., etc. You will always meet them. So no matter where you go, and you can hear what they talk about. It's pretty interesting and insightful right now.
Perfect. So just before the questions, because I already collected some of them, if you can like describe a little bit your aid mission to Mariupol and your impression, starting from the trip. So you start from Peter, and you arrive from Rostov, huh? No.
Yeah, no, yeah, we because airplanes aren't flying to the south right now, so we went by
Train.
No. Yeah, and we spent like 27 hours in train to Rostov-on-Don, and then from Rostov-on-Don 27, yeah, and then from Rostov-on-Don
Electrichka was Electrichka.
Train 27 hours, more than which Electrichka? No, normal train, 2-floor train, by the way. We've been on second floor. You can go to my Instagram and watch, by the way. I posted the video from this.
Okay, I didn't. I saw, but I didn't saw that it was 27 hours. It's like a disaster. Okay, so
no, it's fine. By the way, I was thinking to go to Omsk, and it was more than 30 hours. So I'm still thinking. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, from Rostov-on-Don we went by the road. You cross the border. There is still a border, yeah. However, they say that it's Russian area, right? They think that Mariupol and everything, Zaporozhye, it's Russia, they consider it, right? But there are borders, border guards, there's border, you give passport, they write your data and everything, yeah. So we passed it and went to Mariupol by the road. There are a few points that you can cross. Some go through Donetsk, some go like we through Novazovsk. It's not hidden.
Through Berdiansk? No.
No, it's just
So it's not on the sea. Okay, you went like on the road and you arrived in Mariupol. Like what was like the state of the city now? Like it's still in ruins. There is something in reconstruction because there is a lot of video of these new buildings. Blah blah blah.
there are constructions, of course, but yeah, the first thing that you see is completely ruined buildings. It's completely destroyed. And when I made a video showing to people, my first video, people told me like, "Oh my God, it looks like Grozny in Chechnya," or some say it looks like Aleppo. Like, yeah, the first thing that you feel is like burned air. You feel like, because they always burning something, but anyway, it's another story. And the smell of dust, because it's very dirty. And you see everywhere you look, like everything is ruined. There's no any single building that is normal. And yeah, it's shocking. It's you can watch 100 times on TV these kind of things, but you will never be ready to see like this in reality, because you understand that behind each building, behind each flat, there's human being. There were families, right? They were like, it's catastrophic when you think of this, especially when you look and you see, you see the flat and there's like, it's burned completely, destroyed, and there's fridge or something standing over there, or you look and you see the bed burned. So you understand like they were human beings. So yeah, it's pretty shocking, actually. I can say, like, I mean, it affects mentally anyway, everyone. You can't just move and look at it and without feeling anything. So yeah, if we look at this, I think it's like maybe around 90% of city was destroyed. People say 80, but I think, yeah, 80, 90%, 100% were destroyed. So only like maybe 10% of buildings aren't collapsed. So whenever you look, you always see the same picture of destroyed buildings completely. So they started to build. There are a few places where they built, like one area built by military. I'm gonna post about this later. We passed through that, like the whole area they built with everything, with the infrastructure, with the landscape and everything. One area close to where we lived, but nobody lives there yet. And maybe a few buildings, like you can see around the city, if you move, like a few buildings are built. I think that they understood that they aren't on time and they can't build that fast. So they started to restore buildings. And yeah, wherever you go, you can see like at least them fixing roofs, right? People are sitting on roofs trying to cover them. You see them changing windows almost everywhere. Also, it's true. Like they try to replace, at least before cold winter, replace windows for people so they will not freeze to death completely. But still, it's not enough. Like when you watch on TV in Russia, if you open TV and they tell you like it's a huge building project and blah blah blah, and they show these areas where they build, but they don't show what's behind this. Like, okay, they built all these flats, but nobody lives there. Why nobody lives there? Because of paperwork, bureaucracy, unreal. The second thing is, okay, if even they give a flat to a person, this person enters the flat, he doesn't or she doesn't have anything. They don't have bed. They don't have nothing. Everything is burned. Imagine you enter the flat, it's empty. How are you going to live there? So you continue living with your friends or someone that you live with, and nobody uses this friend. Like maybe a few families I haven't seen, but some people told me like, yeah, some families moved to new buildings, a few. But still, I don't know how long it will take actually for them to rebuild all of this, and if they will rebuild, if Mariupol won't be actually returned back to Ukraine pretty soon. People aren't sure too. Many people think that probably they will be given away to Ukraine in upcoming months. So everyone lives with this feeling like they don't know. They don't know what's gonna be in the future.
Let me put some questions and then we can. Okay, this one was Charles K. I wonder how many civilians are in Mariupol, how many return, and their thoughts. Like
Uh,
testimonies. Yeah, like
yeah, it's a actually a hard question, because I was asking this question all the time. Also moving, I was living with locals. There are no hotels, right? There's nothing like, if you go to Mariupol, where to live? So we were living with just local babushkas, as we say. Babushka, it's grandmother, who survived all these awful events. By the way, were telling us a lot of stories about that. It's there should be another video just about this, to saying, explaining experience of people, and they don't know. The problem is that there is no like there's no normal administration. There are no people responsible for accounting or for anything like that. So whenever you speak with people, they give you different numbers. Some people say that it's like around, not some people, I mean, if you will collect all the data from people, what they say, it will be something like maybe 250,000 people that remained. But nobody will give you a real number right now, because there's nobody counting.
okay, next question. This is like it's from Russia, so from Kabardino-Balkaria. So,
Uh,
who
Привет,
shall
привет.
who shelled Mariupol according to the locals?
That's a very
And
good question.
this one is like, what do they say about the war?
These are very good questions. Are you sure this guy isn't a secret agent who will
No, no,
go
no,
to
no,
FSB and then report us?
no,
No,
no, no.
okay, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Okay.
That's actually good questions, because I was just talking on Twitter, saying these stories to people. The shocking part from all the trip for me was that whenever you speak with people, everyone tells you the same story. And all of them believe that the city was shelled by Azov. All of them. I have videos even with this. I mean, I've recorded you speak with people, and we recorded a lot of videos when they say these stories. There is also a difference, like the city divided in two parts. One is left side, left bank, and right bank. So right bank mostly, yeah, suffered from Ukrainian army, because it's on the side of Ukraine, so they were shelling from there. The left side was destroyed mostly by Russian forces, and the left side will tell you different stories. They will tell you. I think also that they know that you are Russian, so we need to consider this when we speak to locals, that I have huge doubts that they will tell you exactly like, oh, these are Russians shelled us. If even they consider you as occupier, they will not tell you exactly like, it's you occupiers killed all of us. I doubt so. It's one thing that they will tell 100% true, but
For sure, in wartime, the people is afraid of anything that they are talking about. Maybe we will know
yeah,
then. Maybe.
that's why I don't know how genuine they are, but at the same time, like on the right side, so many people say the same thing. Like, yeah, that's like, mm, they tell you the same stories, and they tell you stories in details. Like, I was asking, because if they say Azov bombed our buildings, I say, okay, how they were doing that? How do you know that it's Azov, right? So they start thinking, and sometimes you can hear like person can't describe, so probably it might be something with memory, right? Like,
Okay.
they
Yeah.
also watch Russian TV. They also influenced, there's something with memory, like it can change by time, like if, especially if there's propaganda to one side or to another. So they might think that that what was happening with them, there are a lot of psychological, elements, but at the same time there are many people who are describing in details and how they know that it's Azov. And like, one by one they were describing from where they were shooting, how they were looking, they were speaking Ukrainian, they were doing this and that. And here I think these kind of reports need, actually, there should be organizations that collect them. because this data, I don't think that it reaches much Western sources, actually. I mean, there's no question like who started the war. We are not discussing like who is good or who is bad here. But if we talk about truth, yeah, the majority of people that are remain there, they believe that Ukrainians mostly destroyed the city. That's what they believe in, and they believe that it was order from Kiev to destroy the city completely. Because I was asking them, what's the point? What's the point for your own army to destroy your city? Like, it's your people, basically, right? And each one of them describes the same thing, like there was an order to destroy the city. Why do you think this way? Or is it actually genuine the way they think? I think we will only know after like years, or at least when the war is over.
Okay, question. This is from Eastern Europe. How do you feel about the population in Donbass? I see them are not wanted by anyone.
Yeah, that's a very hard question, actually. Yeah, I feel it's very complicated. I mean, I sympathize Ukraine in their fight. I mean, not like I'm not a Ukrainian citizen, I'm still a Russian citizen, right? But I sympathize these people because they were attacked and they are defending, right, their country. Absolutely. But at the same time, I understand, since I traveled to Donbass, it's not my first time, actually. I've been there. I've been to Luhansk before, LNR, right? And right now I've traveled to Mariupol and I spoke to locals, and it's very complicated. I understand Ukraine wants to get back these territories, but at the same time, I'm not sure if they actually care about people there. Because I mean, those people who remain there, like on Donbass, like DNR, LNR, these territories that separated from 2014, we're not talking about new territories.
Mhm.
New territories is completely different story right now. They do not want to go back to Ukraine. It's true. I mean, it's whenever you go, you can see this unity, because right now the question is, it's how I said, it's the question of blood. Like, each one of them already lost relatives. Each one of them already suffered from this war, and they already see Ukraine as an enemy for a very long time. And when we start to see fails of Russia, by the way, on the front line, right? These people in Donetsk and Luhansk, they were talking like, okay, we don't care. Like, you can leave us, but we will never leave this land. We will fight till the last person. And that's the difference between Russians, by the way, and these territories, because these territories are protecting their own homes as they see. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong right now. I'm just saying from these people's perspective, right? But for Russians, it's like, it's not our territories. What are we doing there? People don't understand. But
No,
for them, they are
Natalia,
protecting their home.
it's very interesting, because I have to tell you that only for the people to understand at home, I have a friend that is Ukrainian, but living in Italy, and also about the stories about the division inside the families. Like, the sister, her sister is still living in Ukraine and was living in Mariupol. The mother they are originally from Donetsk. The mother is in Donetsk and completely pro-Russian.
Mm-hmm.
The sister is completely pro-Ukrainian, and like, they are not talking each other. The other is in Italy and don't understand what is happening. So it's very sad that there is this division. But if I can tell you this provocation that I'm telling to every speakers from Ukraine and also from Russia, there is a very interesting case in Italy that I think that if we will have a position when the two parts will be able to speak and to deal. In the northeast of Italy, there is one part that is called Trentino Alto Adige, or Südtirol in German, that is historically German speaking, because before the First World War was part of Austro-Hungarian Empire. So these two provinces, that it's like the same type like Donbass, because they are normally speaking German or Latin, and they know Italian, but it's like their second languages. And they made a terrorist for 20, 30 years after Second World War, like attacks to the electrical infrastructure, blah, blah, blah. They agreed to make an autonomy of the two provinces. And finally, if you search any type of statistics, actually they are the two richest provinces in Italy, because it's like they gain their taxes, they don't give the money to Rome, but they are very good in managing the money. So if you go there, it's like to stay in I don't know, in Germany, but you are in Italy. And the interesting thing is that Austria is let's say a controller that the situation in these two provinces is okay for the population, and it's made with the UN. So it's very interesting, because I think that it could be copied for the Donbass, like to maintain the two provinces in Ukraine, but with the, let's say, sovereigns, let's say without any problems, border or whatever, but with a mainly complete autonomy of the people, maybe with the control of Russia. But actually, I know that the border before the February 24, for sure, they don't want to return back to Ukraine. And the biggest case, I think, that for Russia it's Crimea, because the main problem, I think, maybe they care about Donbass, but they care more about Crimea for sure.
Of course, that's why they took Crimea, but they didn't bother to do anything with Donbass for all these years. And I can tell you that I've traveled for the first time in 2017 to LNR, and no, 2017, 2019. And at that time, people were like, they were waiting that Russia is gonna take them. They were like absolutely sure, debating with me. And I told them, guys, you've been used. Like, definitely. If they wanted to take you, they would do this, long time before. And none of them, like, believed me or took me serious. They were like, sure, yes, they will give us passports. We will be part of Russia. We will finally live normal, as they think. And it didn't happen. And that's the biggest, like, also drama, I think, because people believed in Russian world, right? Like, Russia will come and protect them, and Russia just messed up with them for all these years. And by the way, about this solution that you said, there was a solution. I mean, that's what was Minsk agreements basically about. They wanted to give them this autonomy, right, to these regions, like promise them that they will manage their regions by themselves, right? But they will be like in Ukraine, but at the same time autonomous regions. They promised them this, but they never how to call it, they couldn't implement these agreements anyway. Like, people figured out, especially recently, when Merkel said, I'm not sure if you heard about that, she said that Minsk agreements, they didn't want to follow it. They were done only to make Ukraine stronger to fight. So it pissed off so many people everywhere. And but it was true. It was clear, actually, at that time. They were just preparing for a huge war.
Okay, let's move. Other questions. Okay. Have there been people that have surprised you when they said that they don't support the war? I think in Russia. If you are surprised that you found people that they are against the war in Russia.
I'm not sure if he's asking about Russia, but anyway, no, in Russia, no, I'm not surprised, because I know that many people, the majority of people actually didn't want this war. There's always, like, small minority in every country, which is radical. In every country, there's always this, like, 3, maximum 10% of people in the country that is so much, warmongering. These people are crazy nationalists or something like that. the majority of population is just usual people who just want to live in peace and no war, right? So nobody wants this war. Especially, we know that there are no elections in Russia. So people who, I mean, there are elections, but we know how they are conducted. So people don't really choose their representatives, and we can't say that people chose this war or they chose something, because it wasn't even their decision. And that's why when the war started, everyone was in shock. Everyone was like, what the hell is going on? We can even see, by the way, by the sales of this medicine against depression, antidepressants. We're lack of them right now because so many people start to buy them. That's a very good statistics to see that the community isn't okay with what's going on. Actually, they can't speak, they can't maybe openly speak against war, say share their opinion, etc. But so I'm not so much shocked, but there are many reasons why it's happening this way. I mean, why people aren't rioting. It maybe will worth like, it will take us another maybe 2 hours explaining that. It's too many complicated processes in the society why it's like that.
I have one question only because we didn't talk about it, and the last two questions like to close. So in Mariupol, just for the people to know it, like you were able to bring to them like electrical heaters, right?
Heaters, yeah.
Because like they don't have because the infrastructure of centralized heating it's broken.
It's you see that the infrastructure is there, but the problem is because each building is destroyed, it doesn't have pipes. They are
Okay.
replacing pipes, radiators right now. So yes, some buildings, they have heating, by the way, right now, some of them. That's why I remember when we even were delivering heaters and we enter the building and we see that it's warm, we took heaters back and say, guys, no, you ordered heaters, but we know that there's central heating, so we are gonna give it to someone who is in real need right now. And we were moving to different locations, giving these heaters to people in absolutely cold buildings. And this kind of cold you can't even imagine, because like in big cities here, you go out, you go to shop, it's warm, or you jump into bus, it's warm, and you always like go from one place to another, you will never feel this cold. But there, whenever you go, it's cold. You can't just warm up, you all the time feel cold, absolutely
Natalia,
insanely.
if I can say to you, let's say my impression, because when I in Russia, my problem to explain to the people it's that let's say that I'm in Bashkiria. Outside it's minus 25. Inside the house it's plus 40. Because like and so this is because you are not used to cold, because inside it's like a tropical temperature.
Yes,
and
exactly.
and people don't understand, for example, in a lot of cities where it's not thermostat in the house, so you have to open the window to like calm down the temperature, and for us it's a little bit like shock,
You
because
will laugh.
normally
I'm sitting right now with opened window. It's like
okay,
-6 because I'm sitting here. There's radiator and it's very hot for me. So the window is open.
this is well, I sometimes I'm explaining to my friends that never been in Russia, and they don't understand. And it's like, and the regular temperature, for example, in Italy, it's I don't know, 19, 20, 21 maximum, because it's like not, we are used to this temperature. And like when I was first time in Moscow or whatever, I was like, I don't know what is this heat. So for you it's cold, but for us it's not so cold.
No, seriously. In Mariupol, it was unreal cold because, like, it's one thing when it's +20, and it's another thing when it's -1 and windy. And it windy so much that you feel like you're gonna die of cold. And you
But
go
in
to building.
Mariupol, Natalia, like the climate, it's humid like Peter.
Yeah,
Okay,
that's the worst thing. Like I figured, because it's humid, because they are on the sea, right? So they have
okay,
like huge winds, and nothing stops these winds. Like in St. Petersburg, we have a lot of buildings that protect
okay.
you from these strong winds. But that's not the case there. It's a lot of open areas, and at the same time, because buildings are destroyed, right? So they collapse them, and there's nothing. And the wind is strong. People don't have windows, and imagine it's like 0 or -2, and it's +1 in your flat, and you're like this 24 hours, and there's no sun. The weather is just like here, dark and gloomy and windy, and you feel like you're gonna die. Seriously, we were sleeping in sleeping bags and clothes, and we still were feeling cold. But the only thing that keeps you like
Alive.
alive is that it will be temporary. You know that you will go back home, and then you think like, okay, but these people are gonna stay there. They are staying there. They're gonna stay in this cold weather, and that's the worst feeling ever. Like, and you don't know even what's gonna happen with them. The war isn't over. And it's not only in Mariupol, by the way. These guys with whom I went, they will go right now on Monday, I think, and they will deliver some heaters to another small towns that were also bombed closer to front line. The same thing.
Okay, last two questions. This one it's like from education, so I know nothing. What do people learn about Ukrainian history in schools in terms of its history from 1850 onward? If you know something, or I don't know.
Uh, I can listen. I've learned history a very long time ago in school. I'm
No,
I'm 30.
yeah,
I'm 34
you are
right now.
you are only 25, so it's not so.
Yeah, yeah. So
If you remember, let's but you were in school, but you remember something like from Soviet times or zero?
I mean, it's usual history. There's nothing like I know there's a lot of talks right now about this. Everyone wants to be separated. They talk about history so much. Putin spoke about history, right? So much, explaining the reasons of special operation. Everyone is trying to refer so much to history nowadays to explain their evil actions. Or not evil actions, or good actions as they think, but in reality, nobody really, like, I don't know, paid attention to that. We mostly learn history as we have two histories actually. We study like world history, right, about countries and major events that were happening at that time, and Russian history when we speak about Russia. And of course we were studying about like Kiev and Rus, right, like there were no
Natalia,
like
I will be more clear. So you see, this is my friend from Kabardino-Balkaria. There is no Ukrainian history separate from Russian history or vice versa. So if I talk with Ukrainians, okay, they said a completely different point of view. So this is what the main problem. I think that, in my opinion, this is only my personal opinion, so I don't want to influence anybody. I think that there is a huge tie between, let's say, the Slavic countries, let's say Belarus, Ukraine, and Russia. For sure, a little bit much less with Central Asia. I have friends from Turkmenistan. They are not connected to Russians. Like historically, it's like they were Russified, but they are not completely not Slavic. Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, whatever. The roots is completely different. But also cuisine, tradition, everything, Ukrainians, Russian, Belarusian, very similar. I think that the big question is that also to use Bandera or Western Ukraine histories, it's a justification for action. It's like the same
of course
of Putin that are explaining
I just say that.
Peter the Great. The Swedish didn't say that Peter was Russian, but it's Russian. It's probably it's something that you need for yourself to justify your action. But
I've just said that in the beginning, like,
yeah,
I know why this question appears right now because everyone speaks, but yeah, in Russia, like, you study Russian history, and the interesting thing, like, if you go to regions, like, if even you go to post-Soviet countries, like, I'm partly Belarusian, okay, so if I go to Belarus, they have their, I mean, they study the same history as we, Soviet Union, Russian Empire, right? But they also have like more subjects in depth about their own history, right? Like, because yeah, it makes sense, it's their regions, to learn in details about their history and how their nation was forming. And I can tell even more like deeper, if you go to regions in Russia, like you go to Tatarstan, they also learn in depth more about their region than we. And if you go to St. Petersburg, like my daughter goes and study history of St. Petersburg only. So she goes to one subject, she loves it. They study museums, they study only history of St. Petersburg. So each person chooses what to study, depends on their identification, let's say, like what they like, right? Which region they belong to. And I'm not talking about
I saw the video of you in the museum, so I'm following.
yesterday. Yeah, I
With the
went with
children.
kids to we were studying about Komi people, Finnic-Ugric nations. Anyway, so it's people think like Russia is something like it's one big country and everyone is just like studying everything. Yeah, technically it's true. Like we have a unified history book, right? Unified. Like it's not like in the US, each state has different books. No, everyone has the same history, but each regions choose by themselves which subjects also to add to their curriculum. So you can see like people in Komi, by the way, study Komi language. However, they don't use it, they don't speak, but they can. Some of them. That's why you go and you see documents in two languages. They have
the same, but it's the same in Bashkiria. I think only 10-15% speak Bashkirian, but there is a chance to go to Bashkirian school if you want.
Yes, but people imagine like that it's like I understand like the West try to implement the same ideas of imperialism, like Russia forced these people to forget the languages. Yeah, that was true for like Stalin times. Absolutely, they were completely erasing identities of small nations. That's absolutely true, but that's not what's going on right now. Absolutely not, because like I can tell you as a Muslim here from minority, and I can tell you from person who has a lot of friends from different republics that they study, and some of them study on their language. But like when I ask my friends, why do you choose Russian? Why do you speak in Russian language when you can just deal in Tatar, for example, or I don't know, on Karachay language? They say, what for? Like we live in Russia. This language gives me it's like with English, it gives you economical priority. Like if you speak Russian, I can go and trade with you, right? I can go and trade with anybody in the country. But if I speak only Karachay, who is gonna like trade with me? Like I will not be able
to. Same when I was in Minsk. Like I asked to my friend, because also in Belarus, like most of the people is speaking Russian and not Belarusian. And but in that case, I had two friends that studied with me in Oslo. Unfortunately, 10 years ago. Unfortunately, and one was more, let's say, into Belarusian, but I understood that they used the language in a nationalistic way, like to let's say, I'm Belarusian, I'm not Russian, so I know both, and I'm using. But I think I saw the same also in Ukraine. I think that most of the people is growing up a lot in, let's say, few people grow up in mono Ukrainian families as language, probably mostly in the Western Ukraine. But also this language thing, I think it's a huge excuse for justify action. Because I think if you are in Ukraine now and you are using Russian, nobody cares. Also, with my friends, the Ukrainians that were here, they were speaking both, let's say, also Russians, because I had я понимаю все. So, but I don't understand Ukrainians, because Ukrainians have different letters, different words, completely different for some. And so it's so Last question that is from my friend from Afghanistan. So, what do you think could be the best possible solution? I took it for the last to Russia-Ukraine conflict. So,
if only I knew this answer to this question, since I think about this since the beginning of the conflict generally, not from 2022, but from like 2014.
2014, let's say.
Yeah, it's even actually before 2014, they were already pre motives for what's going on right now. But I could never imagine that it's gonna be full scale war. Honestly, I could never imagine that could happen. There were tensions, there were differences, but I thought we will overcome it without killing each other. So honestly, I have a few like point of views how it could be solved, but the problem is you can never be sure, you can never predict, let's say, how Russian government is gonna react, how Russian people are gonna react. So all the predictions and solutions that I see right now from smart people, all of them say as one, like, we can't predict anything. We just, we just live with what we have right now. And the only thing that we know about Russia is that, yeah, you shouldn't predict anything, because whenever you just build theories, you try to explain something, it goes a completely different way. And for now, I don't really see like good solution for that, because whenever I'm gonna say, Ukrainians will tell me they will not accept these terms, because, yeah, like I see the situation from by all sides. Like, yeah, I'm in Russia, I have friends on Donbass area that is separated from in 2014, and at the same time I have relatives and friends in Ukraine. Like my part of my family lives in Kyiv, right? And some other friends. So I understand all three sides of this conflict, let's say. And it's very complicated. Like the solution also I would offer to Putin, he will not accept it, definitely. Because yes, I would give territories, of course, back to Ukraine. I would offer to pay reparations to let them to restore their country. But at the same time, I would ask Ukraine to give autonomy to these regions that separated. Because I don't see any solution right now. If these regions that are separated are going to be connected back to Ukraine, we know what's going to happen. Like, these people will have to leave these areas as fast as possible, because, yeah, they are they're not considered to be Ukrainians anymore. They will be hunted down. A lot of problems will be there. And I don't see it as a solution but I'm not in politics. I don't, I don't influence on anything. So whatever I'm going to say, it has no no meaning, let's say. And it's also, people from these areas should be asked. It's not I who sit here and let them, let's do like this. It's not Russia, I think, who must decide what's best for them, let's say.
It was a provocative question, only because I'm trying to put it only live and not live, this question, to my friends. And the main thing is that too many Ukrainians, mostly of them, the problem is that they're not ready to accept any type of deal.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But because they are attacked. But also the problem is that also Russia is not ready to make any type of deal. But I don't think about Ukraine. The problem is that if the Russian people will feel a defeat, will be a problem internally in Russia. As you said, probably it can start some other ethnic group, Caucasus, whatever. I don't know.
No, I don't think. Listen, I talked about this before, and actually, I said even before that. Actually, we can just give these territories away, show on TV that we protect Russia from NATO, draw for them all the pictures we want, and they will believe that Russia won this war, giving away all these territories back. I'm telling you, it could be done. It's just because
Okay,
people don't really care. They
Natalia,
really
I
don't care.
agree. I agree. Let's say that we do like this, but the main issue and the main problem, it will remain Crimea. Because also when I say to my friends, I say, let's say that tomorrow we will stop the war. Let's give autonomy to Donbass. I don't care. The part before 24 of February, not Mariupol or whatever. And we can give Crimea to Russia. Let's say that I make the deal. And we can make Ukraine neutral and with a lot of money for the reconstruction, because Ukraine, when the war will stop, will be covered by the reconstruction, like a Marshall Plan or whatever.
Yeah.
And but they don't agree. But it's this is the problem. It's that they are not ready to make both part any type of concession. And the problem is that more we go in this way and more death we have, probably already the minimum 150,000 to 200,000 people that were dying, let's say, at the end for nothing, because we have a huge lack of diplomacy, and there is no trust between themselves, and
That's all. Yeah.
and it will take decades to recover this, because I want to give you the last thing, and then like to close, because the problem is that there is this let's say sensation a lot from the, let's say, from the Russian people. Let me put it. It was okay. This thing, regardless of what we believe about this war, this will pass, and even Ukrainians and Russians will be forever and remain brothers. My point of view is that it will take maybe 100 years to recover this thing, because I talked a lot with the Ukrainians. Every day that it's passing, it's getting worse.
Yes, you tell me. I know. I mean, I
And
have friends and relatives there. I
and,
see.
and I think that the Russians that are in Russia, not connected like you, they're not understanding that
Absolutely.
the mentality was already changed, because for 30 years we're not under Moscow. And now it's changing hugely every day that the war is not ending. So it will be difficult to recover a friendship that was before. So but we are working for it. So me and you and all the others, because I believe a lot in building bridges, not destroying. And so let's hope that the war will finish as soon as possible. I know that
You see, that's the point. Like, until the war is continuing, we can't do anything really. Like, there will be a huge gap. That's why I don't go into like debates with Ukrainians right now, because I understand them. I understand everything what they say. I mean, I understand when they say no, the only win is to take everything, like take Crimea and let Russia to fall into pieces and everything. And I mean, what to debate here? I am completely. They are losing their loved ones every day, and we are just sitting here and watching how they're dying. And I've been there. I've seen by my eyes all the destruction and everything. I can understand everything, but at the same time, as I told you, like while the war is continuing, I don't see any solution. Like that's why I can't answer even the question like how I see the how this war is going to end, because it's just getting worse and worse. And the deal, as I said, it won't be accepted. It won't be accepted by Russia. It won't be accepted by Ukraine. I know that. If we are going to like, okay, let's agree this territory, we will give them autonomy, we will give that, blah, blah, blah. It won't be accepted by any part. So how it's going to end? Until which day they're going to keep killing each other, and what should happen that will finally stop people from doing that? I couldn't find an answer to that yet. I couldn't, like, I can tell you, I don't know.
No, I still hope because the last 3 years were one disaster, like two of COVID, one of war. Uh, so I think that also when you said about antidepressant, I think that the mental sanity of all the people, especially now for sure the Ukrainians under the war, but with 2 years of restriction. I have my friend that is like Italo-Moroccan that she's in China. She was describing to me the restriction still in China now, and it was
Yeah.
like, you know, it was now, but it's not true. But she was sending me, keeping sending me videos, and I think that really the world need to return back to, let's say, one kindly a normal state for the people to live quietly. So let's see and let's hope. So we are ready 1 hour 15 minutes and you are tired. So wait,
For you.
wait 1 second just when we finish, because I will close the live, but I will don't disconnect. If you have any type of question to Natalia, put in the comments. If you liked the video, just like, subscribe, whatever. Remember to go to the channel of Natalia, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, that you find down here in the description of the video, and subscribe, because she's posting a lot of things now, more on TikTok, but also in the others. And
now more on Instagram, by the way.
Okay.
Because, by the way, you know that we have problems with VPN. Like, I'm not so active on Twitter right now and TikTok because I can't connect. Like, I can connect only when I'm home, and most of the time I'm outside. And outside they start blocking our VPN services. And I was using one that I was paying money to,
Okay.
and they cut it too. So right now we have huge issues with that. Let's see, I'm gonna solve it.
No, it's let me tell you this joke just to close. Let's say that I have friends in Russia that say to me, shocked, arriving from Italy with a new laptop, and that Windows updates were not working, antivirus was not working, only Kaspersky was working. No updates, no VPN, and I think that also these things plus the recruitment and the mobilization is hugely affecting the businesses in Russia, because you are taking people from regular businesses, but
Yeah.
the people is not still feeling, but will feel soon, as you said. So I think that a lot of complicated variable will change things in the next month. So let's see. So I hope that everything was, let's say, good for the viewers. Natalia, was a pleasure to host you. I hope to meet you as soon as possible live.
I hope.
So,
Too.
for anything else, people just put a question or comment down here, and see you in the next streams.
Thank you. Thank you
Ciao.
for having me. Bye
Ciao.
bye.